Before we move on to our next destination on our journey map of practices which make perfect, let's take a look at what we talked about last week. Pastor Steve was talking about love as a spiritual practice, and he emphasized that before we can fully love others as Christ has called us to, first we have to accept that God loved us, even when we didn't deserve it. Feeling and accepting love is not always as easy as it sounds. We all know what love feels like, but sometimes it's hard to express, and sometimes it's hard to recognize when we are being shown love. And it got me to thinking about the concept of love languages. That's generally a term used to refer to the different ways that people most naturally express love, and it also describes how they set their expectations of how they want love to be shown to them. We're all unique, individual creatures that God created in His own image, and we're all on a different journey that has taken us through different circumstances and formed us and shaped us into these diverse personalities with diverse expectations and expressions. So I thought I would ask some people, how do you express love most naturally?
How do I express my love?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take two.
The way that I show others love is by giving gifts or just by quality time, spending time with them with no distractions and just having conversation.
And my preferred method of love sharing is, with acts of service. I like helping other people, and when my schedule allows it, I'm ready and willing to help in whatever way is possible.
My favorite way of showing love is to give gifts, like presents, little things, or something somebody really likes. She's making me make these videos, and I fear for my safety. She's over there, we gotta be quiet. Please send help. You might want to send a tank, or just throw some chocolate.
My gifts that my love languages that I like to give is small gifts, and I like to pick flowers from my garden and give them to people so they can smile, and words of affirmation. I think that really helps, and it's so easy to do. I like to compliment strangers, so it helps me get out of my comfort zone and just say, oh, I like your top, and it makes them feel really good about themselves.
Okay. Okay, Dylan, how do you show Jackie love? Snuggle. You snuggle him? Is he your dog? And who's Daddy's dog? Wesley. Okay, thank you. Okay, Evan, how do you show your brother love? Hugs? Let me see.
As you can see, there are so many different ways that God has created us to love one another. And each one of us comes to those ways a little bit differently. So what happens when the way that you express love naturally isn't the way that the person you're trying to express it to might accept it? For example, I'm a words of affirmation person in the way that I express love to others. I love to tell people what I'm feeling. I love to write letters. I love to write notes, text messages, phone calls, and most of all, I just like a long conversation over a cup of coffee in a comfortable space. But not everybody that I want to show love to is going to respond to that in the same way. And I just thought it was really important that I let you know that I really love you, and when I think about you, I am overcome with gratitude and joy. Now, it would be awesome for me if everybody responded to the words of affirmation love language the same way that I do. Or if everybody was self-aware enough to just be able to tell you exactly what method and language they would expect love to be shown to them.
My name is Bubba. My love language is food. Food makes me happy. It makes me feel loved.
But that's not usually the case. Instead, we have to become great listeners. We have to be watching for people to show us how they need to feel loved. And sometimes that means stepping out of our comfort zone and maybe trying a different love language than what we feel comfortable with. Here are some examples that people told me about how they felt love being shown to them recently.
Just being able to talk to my mom in the mornings. I'll call her on the way to work when she's on her way to work, and we'll just have a conversation about what's going on in our lives, and I'll vent to her about how my toddler is acting like apparently I acted like when I was a toddler, but she always just reassures me that I'm doing the best I can and encourages me in just being a mom and a wife and a pastor.
And I have felt loved recently really in the way that Bree has kind of managed the family through the chaos of the last, how many months has it been now? 8 months of COVID life. She's taken it all in stride and still planned things and had fun with us, and even when we're not sure what's going to happen, she's had an idea of what to do and made it happen.
Oh.
Like, I always remember my mom helping me into the wee hours of the morning with homework. And no matter how late it got, she was still there for me, and that really made a big difference.
Recently, somebody, my wife, made me feel loved by giving me a gift card, telling me I'd been working too hard and that I deserved to go spend a little bit of money.
The other day, somebody was driving past our house and saw that our trash can had gotten pushed out into the street by the trash truck, and they picked it up and rolled it into our driveway. You know, they made a special stop just to do that because they knew that it was our house. And that was a special act of service that really shows that that person cares about us. And you know, acts of service is not always the easiest way for me to recognize love being shown to me, and I'll confess that sometimes I take those little things for granted. But because I was looking for acts of service and looking for acts of love this week, I was able to recognize it for what it was and really appreciate the fact that this person was showing that they cared, not just in telling us that they loved us or giving us a gift, which would be easy to realize, but that they just went out of their way to do that little act of service as a way of showing that they cared. So my challenge for you this week is, as we move into the practice of hospitality as a spiritual practice, be on the lookout for all of the opportunities that you can both show love to others, but also that you can recognize when the people of God are showing you their love through ways that might not be the easiest to recognize, maybe are something that you've taken for granted in the past, but that you can feel and experience God's love through those acts, and that in turn you can spread that love. I mean, we might have to really think out of the box right now about how to show love to others in new and creative ways, especially with COVID-19 spiking and holidays looking differently than they probably ever have for most of us. But I think that we can really get creative with the ways that we show love to our families, loved ones, spouses, strangers, neighbors, and our church family. How is God calling you to express the love that He first showed to you, to the people around you?